Welcome to Scorched Earth. This is going to be a general reading for the sign of Taurus, Sun, Moon and Ascendant for the month of April. If you don't know what your Moon or Ascendant signs are, have a look in the description box below. There's a link down there that will help you find your full birth chart, and then you should come back and watch the videos for your Moon and Ascendant signs, because it'll give you a better idea of what's going on with you overall. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you. If you're new, welcome. I hope you find something here for you. And thank you to all those people who commented and shared, liked the videos, sent me messages, reached out for personal readings, sent donations, all that kind of thing. You keep the lights on, and I appreciate every single one of you. I'm not actually doing personal readings at the moment. I closed my books a few weeks ago so that I could catch up on the backlog of personals that I had. And I had intended to take last week off just to rest, actually. But I ended up doing something entirely different, so not much rest was had. Nevertheless, there you are at the bottom of the deck, the Hierophant. I've been working on some stuff, so keep an eye on the channel. There's be some new things coming up for you. And I hope you're all well. So, let's get you some cards, Taurus. Actually, before I start, I should just confess that this is the third time I've tried to do your reading. I did 2 readings yesterday for you, Taurus. And the message that was coming through was quite esoteric, actually. And not even sure I'm going to upload them. It didn't seem to be rooted in the 3D terribly well. And it seemed to be more a message of what was expected of you as a collective. So I may or may not upload those at some point, but third time lucky and all that, so let's go. Listen here. Here I have 3 cards for Taurus for the month of April, please. 3 cards for Taurus. There's the first one. 3 cards for Taurus. And the second. And the third. Oh, this is interesting. They're all minor arcana. At the bottom of the deck, we've got the Devil, or the Horned One, as it is in that deck, followed by Strength and the Hanged Man. That's interesting. Those are the cards of Capricorn, Leo, and Pisces, respectively, for me. But as a message, together, those 3 cards counsel against giving into fear, changing your perspective on things and remaining strong. So, we'll see how that message pans out for the rest of the reading. Let's get some clarifiers and then we'll get on with this. I'll show you what we've got when it comes in. Right. Why is the 2 of Pentacles for Taurus, please? Got a couple of repeating cards already. It's the 2 of Pentacles here. Nice, I like it. Just show you the Hanged Man at the bottom here as well. Where's the 9 of Cups here? Interesting. There's the 9 of Cups here for Taurus. Temperance at the bottom of the deck, the card of Sagittarius. Where's the 6 of Wands here, please? Taurus. Just going to show you those 2. It's the 4 of Wands and Judgment. They've flipped. I'm not going to take them there because they didn't jump. So, where's the 6 of Wands here for Taurus? Nice. No, I'm not taking that. That's far too many. Seven of Cups, 2 of Swords, and the King of Swords. It's getting really clear about what you think about things. Coming out of confusion. I like that. Six of Wands. Okay, Taurus. Oh, it's that tarot reader nose thing again. The first card you've got is the Two of Pentacles. Now, this is a card that speaks about balance and achieving balance. And more often than not for this card, I equate it to some sort of emotional balance, even though it's a Pentacles card and it's earth energy like you. The scene in the background is one of great, you know, there's a maelstrom there, huge waves and ships crashing around, you know, and there's this figure at the end of the jetty who stood on one leg and kind of balancing these two pentacles in a lemniscate, which is the infinity sign there, right? And it's interesting, like in between all the different decks that I've got, this is one of the cards that varies wildly in its depiction. It's sometimes the character looks positively gleeful in achieving this balance, and at other times they look sad or downright panic-stricken about the task at hand, right? So we've got all of this water in the background, it's great emotional turmoil, and this figure here. But I feel like a sense of resignation from it more than anything else today. It's almost like this character here, let's see, shall I say there? Okay. Balancing these resources, balancing this work, balancing these, you know, these pentacles, duties, responsibilities, all that kind of thing. But the figure is staring forward to the floor. It's like it's not even looking at what it's doing. It's doing a pretty good job of keeping them up in the air, but the figure is somewhere else in their head. And I think what they're doing is they're contemplating this emotional situation in the background. So you're obviously very proficient, but maybe you've been working on autopilot a little bit, because this is the recent past. And maybe you've been looking within, and maybe you've been giving some real thought to your inner emotional life. Because the two cards that you've got to clarify are the Nine of Cups and the Emperor. And it's really funny, it looks like there's just from a colour perspective, there's a transition between these cards. You know, the blue, the yellow and the red. Right. The Nine of Cups for me, right, it's the key word is you know, wish fulfillment. And I think I've said before about this card that I never quite understood why it was a 9, because wish fulfillment is literally having your wishes fulfilled, and why wouldn't that be, you know, the absolute culmination of a suit? And it's because it's the ability to be able to fulfill your own wishes, and being cups it's emotional wishes. Right? The Nine of Pentacles depicts a woman who is, you know, materially comfortable. She's able to she's able to be self-sufficient and take care of her own her own material needs. This one is emotional. It's the ability to make yourself happy. It's the ability to fill your own cup. But more than that, it feels like a knowing what you want. And just as there's a kind of flip-floppy energy almost in the Two of Pentacles, or at least you know, kind of mechanically going through the motions with the 3D stuff that you're having to deal with. Like internally, there was stuff going on. What has been going on is you getting really, really clear about what you want, and then implementing that for yourself, because this is the card of Aries. It could be that there's an Aries involved, but it doesn't have to be. More I feel it is an energy of you, and it's a change of thought process. It's a change of pattern. that has been very firmly established with you for a very, very long time. It almost feels like actually a shifting of your priorities. Perhaps a new understanding of what it is that's important. This emperor here who sat on his throne, and obviously he's in charge of a kingdom, an empire, more than a kingdom. But he's looking sideways at this character in the Nine of Cups. And it feels a little bit like perhaps you've been quite tied up in your material circumstances for a while. And you've had an opportunity to kind of sit back and consider those things that are actually important to you, those things that make you happy, those things that make you smile. And you've made great leaps with it. I'm going to pull another card before I move on. Bear with me a second. Seven of Cups in reverse. Yeah, so this way around, it talks about illusion and such things often, but it talks about options, and more than that, it kind of talks about a bewildering array of options often. This particular depiction is really interesting because you can see it there. Right? There's all those characters. There's that kind of Baba Yaga figure kind of running off and being chased by these spectral animals. But right in the corner here is this little person hiding behind a rock. There's a sense that you've actually dealt with some demons, I think. It feels like maybe you've been doing a bit of shadow work. If you have, that's absolutely exceptional. Well done. I'm proud of you because it's difficult work, and it seems like you've had some dark things that you've needed to conquer, but it's helped shift your priorities a little bit. There's a definite sense of turning inwards and dealing with the inward things before gaining that expression externally with the Emperor, so that changing how you behave changing how you behave in the externally, how you interact with other people, how you even in fact run your empire with a different set of priorities, a different value structure. Like the Emperor. Fuck. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to take this as confirmation because what's come out is the Nine of Cups. Right? It's the second time in this little set of cards that I've got just here for your recent past that has come out. Right? That's a reassessment of priorities. That's a you putting you front and center. Like, what do you want? What? Not what does everybody else want. What are you duty bound to do? None of that is now a priority for you. Now it's about you in the best possible way that it could be. It's funny because the first two readings that I did, the ones that I said were a little bit more esoteric in nature, what they dealt with very, very strongly was this reprogramming of the brain that it feels like the collective, the Taurus collective, has been undergoing because you have suffered in the past, with overthinking and things like that. And being actually a little rooted in the past as a result, failing to be in the present here and now. Excuse me. Or going so far the other way, and just sort of, casting your eye forward so much that you're constantly ploughing on towards a goal that shifts every time you get anywhere near it. The being present is the key. And the Nine of Cups is a very present energy. I love it. What we've got in your present is the Nine of Cups. I love that. And it's everything that I said before. But what's different in this depiction as opposed to the other two, is the sense of quiet contentment that radiates off it. There's a peace here, and this peace is coming from the inside out. This is nothing to do with your external circumstances. This is nothing to do with what's going on in the world. It's nothing to do with anything other than what's going on inside you. And so to keep harking back to these last two readings that I did, but I kind of failed to put the point on the end that I was going for. The phrase that came to mind with both readings that I was doing was paradigm shift, right? Because you've changed the way that you think, because you are actually probably still possibly in the process of changing that. It does amount to a paradigm shift, because what you're doing is completely changing the way that you see the world, see yourself, see other people, see your space, don't you? The space that you occupy as an energetic being. And you're starting to see more of what you have to offer to the world, instead of looking at all the ways that you don't match up to what you think the world wants from you. Authenticity is key. And there's peace. You're beginning to find peace, Taurus, and that is so valuable. I can't even tell you. The two cards that you've got to clarify are the Eight of Wands and the Three of Pentacles, right? This came up for you quite a bit yesterday as well in the previous readings, because rather than it being a tower moment, because the defining characteristic of a tower moment is that sudden energy that comes in, right, broadsides you with things. This feels gentler. This feels like a gentle unpicking and then a restitching together. And that's what the Three of Pentacles is talking about, right? And this is Mercury in Sagittarius, right? Mercury deals with communication specifically. But here's that Sagittarian energy around you again, whether or not you're dealing with a Sagittarius or whether you're just employing this energy. But there's a sense of a more healing dialogue that you're indulging in with yourself nowadays than you have done ever before. All the swords that came out, all the negative swords were about you rejecting those now, and all the positive swords were literally what you are, what you are doing, how you are showing up in the world. And it's funny that under the Nine of Cups we should have pretty much the only card that speaks about communication that isn't of the sword suit. It's warmer, it's fire, and so it's present, and it's swift. And I get an overwhelming impression that what it is that you're doing is because you've warmed up the way that you speak to yourself, because you've made it less cutting and less harsh and all those kind of things. What you've done is you've kind of employed a really long, drawn-out tower, pulling down these structures inside your head that don't work for you anymore. And you're like, I'm going to try doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be spontaneous. I'm going to do this, that, and the other. As spontaneous as an fixed earth sign can be. But it's more about what's going on internally in your mind. We've got the emotional side here. We've got more heart-driven communication, which is allowing you to rebuild who you are inside peacefully, without judgment, without all the nasty energy that you seem to save just for yourself. Eight of Wands, Three of Pentacles. Yeah, we've got the Three of Pentacles again. I'm going to take that as confirmation that what you are doing is rebuilding, right? And that's great, because that's what Taurus likes to do. Taurus likes to build things slowly, right? But it's coming off the back of this Sagittarian energy. Now, maybe there's a Sagittarian in your midst, and the meeting of them has enabled you to kind of want to do that work on yourself. Or maybe you're just using that energy, because all of the signs are using it at the moment. Like Sagittarius is slotted across everybody's readings for the last month now. But it's because that energy really has something to offer the signs, and the signs really, really need it. You know, like the tail end of last year, sort of November, December time and into January, there was not a single reading that I did that didn't involve the Justice card somewhere. And that wasn't a Libran wandering around and you know, dispensing justice on everything. That was like a collective completion of karmic contracts, you know, releasing of karmic relationships and a settling of karmic debts, you know, and it happened collectively across all of the signs, right? Every single person let things go. And now they're working on rebuilding, you know, with what remains. And the message from the Three of Pentacles is always that what you are building is going to last for a very long time, you know. It's an expansive energy, which is interesting because that's expansion was the word that I got when I was meditating on your energy. But it's so comfortable and so peaceful compared to the energy that you've been in of late. What are you? 10 of Cups. Yeah, like... Your happiness is so important to you that you're willing to undo everything that you've ever known and ever learned to do it a different way. You know? I don't know how old you are, you know, 25, 30, 35, 40, 50 even, you know, you've had decades and decades of doing things the same way, yet as a collective, it hasn't worked for you. And now with this shifting of values, shifting of priorities, shifting of the way that you see yourself, speak to yourself, perceive the entire world around you, you're putting your own happiness front and center. You're putting your emotional well-being front and center. And the understanding that is coming off that is that you, Taurus, have potentially been what has been at the center of your own, you know, sorry, I've just seen a police car. Someone's touring the pubs just to make sure nowhere's open. That you have been at the center of what has made things difficult in your own mind. And ultimately that is true for everybody, you know, but it can come as a real shocking revelation when we understand that we are in charge of our, you know, how we see the world, how we react to the world, how we conduct ourselves in the world, with our relationships, with other people and with ourselves, you know. It's beautiful. I really, really like it. I'm glad this is not airing off into the esoteric quite so much as yesterday. So, the final card that you've got is the Six of Wands. And that's the card of Leo. And the key words for this card are conspicuous public victory. You know, it's winning and being seen to be winning. But that doesn't necessarily mean, you know, competition or battles or anything like that. It's a perceptible shift in how you live your existence, right? It's an increase in confidence. It's an increase in self-esteem. It can be even an increase in a sense of purpose, you know, kind of discovering the reason why you're here and what you're about. And this is what's coming towards you in April. I'm noticing the fact that this chap's holding one ace in his hand, and that would be the Ace of Wands, you know, so potentially new creative endeavours, new hobbies, new things to feel passionate about. But what he's walking, right, he's on a horse, what he's riding past are these 5 wands. And there's a sense of having conquered those 5 wands. 5 of Wands is conflict, right? This is an external conflict. This is your internal conflict. Like, I cannot stress enough how important that this is. Not just for you as an individual, but for you as a collective. You know, this is really, really important. Even though we only have one major arcana card on the board, I feel like the reason that we only have one major arcana here is because this is not outside forces working on you. This is all minor arcana, because this is all stuff that you are doing with yourself. You know, and like I said, it's been this slow process of unpicking and kind of, you know, and then starting to rebuild. The two clarifiers that we've got are the Four of Cups, but in reverse, right? And this way around, it can talk about taking things for granted, missed opportunities and things as well. But it can talk about a certain stroppy kind of energy. You know, it's things not being quite good enough. So it comes to mean taking things for granted, because it's not seeing things as the absolute gift from the divine that they are. But the thing is, it's come out reversed for you, right? And this comes back to this renewed sense of purpose, this renewed sense of priorities, this revisited value structure, which you are currently in the process of kind of shifting around to suit you more than it ever has done before. And a sense that it's not self-indulgent to do so. Which is ironic, because sometimes overthinking and panicking about how you are perceived by other people, or what other people are going to judge you for, you know, or even what you run away from in yourself, you know, what you judge yourself for really, really hard, those things that get pushed into the shadow behind you, you know, sometimes that can be the self-indulgent thing, even though you're punishing yourself with it, you know, that it can be quite a self-indulgent act, and there's a sense of you sloughing that off altogether. You know what's important. You know what's important to you. You are taking nothing for granted at the moment. And there's a sense of you being open to taking any opportunity that is offered to you, or that you can even generate for yourself. Interestingly, that's what I just heard. Four of Cups. Please. And so if you can take this on the level of a romantic relationship, this is an end to self-sabotage, yes, but this is an end to the potential of sabotaging other relationships that you have with other people too. I mean, right, fuck it doesn't even have to be just romantic relationships. It's relationships with everyone, right? And you've removed that element of self-sabotage that has kept you stuck, that has kept you possibly codependent, kept you possibly in toxic relationships, you know, where there were red flags right, left and centre. Maybe even you were the one demonstrating the red flags, you know, but you were coming from a place of such pure kind of, what felt like such a pure desire to be the best that you could possibly be. But it because ultimately it was coming from a place of fear, it got warped, you know, like you're leaving all of that behind. Tell me about the Four of Cups in reverse, please. Got the Lover's card. It's a card of Gemini, yes. And it's the card of making a choice. Yes. Major life choices, actually. And this is like if you want to read it that way, if this particular interpretation is going to apply to you, then it's about Just notice the card that dropped on the floor is the Nine of Swords. It's come out that way around. It's making a conscious choice to live your life a different way, right? It's not being enslaved to this energy, this mental chatter inside your head that actually just keeps you rooted, stops you from moving, stops you from trusting your intuition. It could be a Gemini, maybe that's the thing. Or it could just be a relationship, right? Possibly a fairly important soul connection. Tell me about the Lovers, please. I've got the Ace of Cups is what's flipped there. What dropped off to the right down here? The Star. Yeah, like... You cannot follow a guiding star without trust, right? It's a card of Aquarius, yes, but no one would ever follow a star if they didn't trust implicitly that it would take them somewhere important, right? And what Taurus has been struggling with, certainly for the last month or so, perhaps longer, definitely longer, was trusting themselves, trusting the inner voice, the higher voice, you know, the intuition, the gut pull that pulls you forwards. Yeah, you've struggled with that, but you're consciously choosing it now. And with this Ace of Cups, where did I just I've just dropped it somewhere. Yeah, I've just dropped it. And cannot see it. The Ace of Cups is new love, yes. But it can be for yourself, right? Or a renewal of love for yourself, definitely. So it could either be choosing to see yourself that way, or it's choosing to remain open to the hope that this soul connection can work. But it's not being a slave to it, which is the important thing. That's not codependency, right? If it's in your environment now, then it's relaxing into it in a non-toxic, non-red flag sort of fashion. It's allowing it to be whilst you are being the best possible version of yourself, which is magnificent. I love that. But Ace of Cups and the Lovers together, you know, it's a soul connection. I'll be fucking damned if I know where that card's gone. It's just proper disappeared. This is about being the best version of yourself. And the best version of yourself is not what you think everybody wants. It's what is authentically you, right? And you're starting to find that. You're starting to resonate at that frequency. That will raise your vibration. If there's nobody in your environment that you're interested in having that kind of relationship with at the moment, raising your vibration to that level will call that person in, right? You will attract what you throw out. So that's beautiful. And the final card that you've got is the Six of Swords. Now, it's kind of a sad looking card, but it feels like experience. It feels like you're really learning a lesson here. I'm actually quite surprised the Wheel of Fortune hasn't come out, because you're moving away from that old way of doing things. You know, those choppy waters that are depicted in this card, and you're going off to these calmer waters, you know, this peaceful state here. And these swords feel like the lessons that you've learned in the process, you know, and that is really important, because that sort of, I wouldn't say it guarantees, but it certainly makes it easier for you to not fall back into old patterns of behaviour. Yeah, if you understand what you're dealing with. Fucking hell. I'm just going to show you that. It's a Page of Wands, which is the card of Sagittarius for me. Tell me about the Six of Swords, please. Six of Swords. Gently. Tell me about the Six of Swords. This is really interesting. So the three cards that I've got that have come out are the King of Pentacles, which is you and your energy. The Ten of Pentacles, which is the culmination of your pentacle suit, the minor arcana of your pentacle suit. And the King of Wands, right? Here's that fire sign again. But this fire sign, whoever they are, whether or not they're Sagittarius, I know it's not a pair, and it's not a king and a queen, but I don't feel like that's important at this point, right? I feel like this is a meeting of two people who are both highly competent and capable, and this card of commitment and stability in between. You're leaving behind the old patterns, you're leaving behind the old ways of doing things. The King of Pentacles is Taurus, right? Strictly Taurus. The King of Wands is strictly Leo. It can denote one of the other fire signs, and it doesn't have to be male, just as the King of Pentacles doesn't have to be male and could denote one of the other earth signs. But this I see as working together. This are two people who are on a level, right? These two here. But if this isn't a fire sign wandering in and being, cracking about in your environment, it's almost even better, because here you are as the King of Pentacles, like king of your outside world, king of your material space, right? Combining with the power of the King of the fire suit, which is about that spontaneity. It's about living in the presence, at present. It can sometimes, denote a business owner, so, new business, entrepreneur, that kind of thing. But it's more about the energy that's going on. And I just find it really, really interesting that the Taurus readings have had this Sagittarian energy kind of fucking trotting all around it. And a sense of you really consciously undertaking a process to level yourselves up, either to match the vibration of this person who's come in, or to just reach a point that you perceive, using the fire energy, as being where you want to be. Right? In which case these two kings are you, and this is what you are working towards. We've leapt from these 2 threes down here, these threes of pentacles, which is starting the process of rebuilding, right? Building something new, to complete material fulfillment, right? And that could be business, could be new house, all that kind of thing. But it's a card of longevity. It's a card of commitment. It's a card of all of these things. So if it's another person, what you're working together to create is this. If it isn't, and if this is you, then by God, you have fucking leveled up so fucking hard that you are now completely in charge of your future with your Taurus self, and your present with this Fire King energy here, And if you want to be victorious in a Six of Wands kind of way, how amazing to have the King of the suit, the energy of the King of the suit there to assist you do that. Six of Wands, King of Wands, King of Pentacles, Ten of Pentacles. It's absolutely fantastic. I love it. Right. I was thinking about starting extendeds this month. It's been part of my plan forever, was to do extended readings. Just having a little mull about what we could go into here. Yeah, there are a few things. So if this message has resonated with you at all, and you're kind of interested to see where it goes and what's cracking on with it, have a look in the description box below, because there'll be a link down there to the extended. But as ever, you know, like the video if it resonated and all that sort of thing. And like I said, keep an eye on the channel, because I've got loads of stuff coming to entertain you all very, very soon. Yeah. Sorry if I seem a bit distracted. I'm really quite tired. Kind of worked my arse off last week in a way that I didn't anticipate having to do. I need a nap. Anyway, take care. I'll speak to you soon.